Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Today we're talking about, I think, one of the most iconic motorcycles of the post-war era. This is a 1976 MV Agusta 750 America. I've had this bike, God, 25 years, 26 years, something like that. MV Agusta is one of those hallowed names in motorcycling. I think they hold more Grand Prix titles than anybody else. According to this decal, and 37 Grand Prix wins right here. They called it the Ferrari of motorcycles, and I think that's probably a fitting tribute to it. It's a 4-cylinder, 2-valve, beautiful sand cast casings. Although the engine looks pretty big, I don't think it's as wide as a Honda 404. And this is 790 cc's, about 80, 85 horsepower. It's a shaft-driven bike. It's not a lightweight bike by any means. It's over 500 pounds. But it carries its weight very nicely. The primary and everything is all gear-driven, beautifully put-together motor. This is the kind of engine you kind of motorcycle rather, you put in your garage, you get a chair, and you just kind of sit and look at it for a while. I love the Monty pipes, these classic pipes. That's very Italian bend on there. This motorcycle cost $6,000 in 1977. For about $1,400, you could get a Triumph Bonneville or a BSA 650. I think the big Harley Dresser was probably around $2,000 or maybe a little bit less than that. So, in fact, most of the motorcycle magazines of the era said, why would anyone pay $6,000 for a motorcycle? It just seemed crazy. MV Agusta built motorcycles, since the 20s. They also were involved in helicopters. They bought, I think it's Bell Helicopter, they bought one of those big helicopter companies. And they used a lot of their technology to build motorcycles. They built a touring bike first using this engine, a big 600cc touring bike, big ugly thing, and it had shaft drive. And I don't know why they put shaft drive on their sport bike. Monty makes a nice chain conversion, but I don't mind the shaft drive. The rumor I heard, and it could be just a rumor, Count Agostini did not want any privateers racing his motorcycles. So he deliberately put the shaft drive on there for that reason. That may or may not be true. But you can convert it, but I don't feel any need to. The real fun in this bike is riding it and hearing the sound. It does feel like you're driving a big front-engine Ferrari. It's got a nice balance to it, and it's the best sounding motorcycle. You'll hear that in just a minute or two. Let's walk around the bike. What else can I show you here? 4 carburetors, disc brakes up front, drum brake in the rear, which was pretty standard for the 70s. You know, I've got a bunch of old motorcycle brochures from the period. Come on, let me show you some of those. These are magazines I actually bought in the 70s, and I still have them. A little obsessive. Let's take a look. The fun thing about having these old bikes is brochures I used to pick up for free at the bike shows, you can now sell for like a couple of $100. This is the original MV 750 America brochure. I should see, this bike cost $6,000 in 1977, which was a lot of money. And as you can see, it's pretty elaborate brochure. Look, you can't get more Italian than that. Look at the flared pants, girl on the back. Very cool. It opens up this way. This is a cycle reprint from 1975. As you can see, they are just beautifully made motorcycles, all sand castings. Look at that. There's your drive there. Look at that. Classic Mechanics. That was an English magazine, 1984. I think it's one of the greatest looking motorcycles of all time. God, I bought this new in 1973. How old am I? I always thought that was the sexiest with the multicolored tank and the big drum brake in front. Got this when I was really young, 1958. There's the original bike that the America was based on. That was the 600cc 4-cylinder touring bike. As you can see, pretty ugly bike, big dorky drive shaft, but that great engine. It was so funny that beautiful Grand Prix engine was put in this touring motorcycle. By the mid-'80s, these things were becoming collector's items again, so that's why they would go back and, and look back in the 70s about what the classic bikes were. But this is just some of I love collecting all this kind of stuff. But you know something? It's probably time to take the bike for a ride. Come on. This is not a city bike by any stretch of the imagination. This thing it's very long-legged, loves the open road. Let's find some open road.
You know, there's just something about gear-driven engines. It's so precise, it's so melodic. Redlining this thing is about 8,500 RPM. So you put it into a bend, and she holds the line very nicely. It carries its weight down low, so even though it's over 500 pounds, it doesn't feel like it. And that sound. At about 7,000 RPM, everything just starts to come together, and it just becomes harmonious. You know, there are faster motorcycles and better handling motorcycles, but none give you as much satisfaction as this thing. Just so long-legged in every gear, she just pulls. This is the classic definition of it doesn't matter where you're going, it's how you get there. You know, we've never gotten it out of third gear. Let's take it up in the freeway and see how it sounds while she's cruising. Fifth gear at 70, you're barely turning, well, just about 4,000 RPM. And it's dead smooth at that RPM. It just makes you want to kick it down a gear, or 2 gears, and open her up. Oh, that's when she starts to sing. It's just a lot of fun. It's hard to express how emotional this bike is when you're driving it. It just, or when you're riding it, I guess. All the sound, all the vibration comes through the frame. It's really exciting. This is a classic example of the last days of old technology being better than the first days of new technology. This is the last of the old school stuff, boy. 4 carburetors. Your throttle's run by a cable, not by wire. No electronics. Well, I hope you enjoyed this ride as much. I know you didn't enjoy it as much as I did because I was on the bike, but I'm hoping that our microphone was able to capture the sound, because it's, you know, there are bikes that are fun to ride because you're a good racer and you can sit. I'm not a motorcycle racer. I enjoy riding. I like to ride. And there are certain bikes that make you feel like a great rider. And this is one of those bikes. You just feel like Augustini when you're on this thing. I mean, I'm nowhere near Augustini. We were both Italian. That's about all we have in common. But other than that, it's fun to drive a piece of history. And it's fun to drive an interesting investment. And I've said this a million times. I don't know anything about stocks or bonds. But I just buy what I like. And when I bought this, I bought it for a pretty good price, and now they've just gone up in value. So that's a good thing to tell the spouse, you know. Honey, it's an investment. It's our future. See you next week.